Hello, friends, and welcome back to My Hobby Home. And joining us for our Mother's Day sew along. So, friends, if you are a biological mother, stepmother, aunt, whatever, if you are a woman in a village that it has taken to raise a child, happy Mother's Day. You do not have to be a biological mother to be a mama. In my direct circle, I have my biological mother, I have my stepmother, I have several aunts that have helped. My Aunt Betty, in one particular, she's kind of raised all of us, or helped at least. She's helped raise all of us, down from first niece and nephew to our children and now to their children. Yes, my aunt has helped raise 3 generations of kids. She's at least been a babysitter for all 3 generations. So, happy Mother's Day to all the women out there that have supported families, raising children. It does take a village, friends. It does take a village. And I'm so blessed to have had such a large village. But friends, let's get sewing here. This was supposed to be our Saturday sew along, but we opted to do a Jolly Bar. But this is our Woodland Quilt. This is in the, I think, Simply Half Yards. Yes, it is in the Simply Half Yards book. So we are working on page, let's see what page it is, 44, friends. We got our first J and B squares put together. They're half square triangles. We made a total of 48. I have all of mine laid over here right now, still waiting to be pressed, not pressed yet. What we are doing today is we're going to be making, I call this an hourglass. Isn't this the hourglass? I believe it is. But in the book, they tell us to take our A and our I fabrics and to cut them diagonally. I am not doing that. Just so you know, that's not how I'm doing it. I am taking my A and I am going to sew them together on a 1/4 inch on both sides of the center line. And I'll show you what I'm going to do after that. Because as you know, country people say here in Louisiana, there's many ways to skin a rabbit here. And we're going to do it a different way. I think this just takes a lot of time out of it, out of the situation. We're going to take our I and put it on our A. We're actually going to sew on the A side. And I have my laser light. Guys, I have this down in the link. This keeps me from having to mark. I have it set at 1/4 inch. But how I am doing it, I am putting that point, the point of my square. Let me lay it down here and figure just on the inside of that 1/4 inch light. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to do a scant 1/4 inch. And the reason I want to do a scant 1/4 inch is because I want to make sure I have enough fabric so when I go to trim down, I'm not running short of anything. And I didn't even get that under there. Can't believe I didn't do that. So let me raise that needle back up. Get that thread out there because I do need the needle over the fabric if I want it to sew it. And I just use that laser light. And as I said, I'm putting that point just to the right side of that laser light. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just do all of them that way. Look at that beautiful gold color. That's got some metallic in it. That's going to be so pretty in this quilt. But I am going to sew all of these like this. I'm making half square triangles, friend. That's all I'm doing is making half square triangles. But once I get the half square triangles done, I am going to cut them differently. And I'll show you what I do. Now, of course, I can't show you down on my table because my table is a cutting mat and it has the grid lines on there, and that would be giving away a measurement. We don't want to do that. We want to continue to be on YouTube to sew with you guys. So I hope if you're watching this on Mother's Day, I hope you've already had your Mother's Day with your family. I will be going to my brother's house. He's going to barbecue for all of us. And I think my youngest daughter's going to come in as well. She's going to come with me because tonight, it is Saturday night, friends, and it's almost 9 o'clock, and I'm just now being able to sit down and record this for you guys, but I had my dad in the emergency room tonight. He had a medical emergency that he's had going on for several days and didn't go to the doctor, and then, of course, it got to where it's too late to go to the doctor, and he needed to go see a doctor because it's something he's had before, and I mean, we know, and he just needed to go and get his medicine, and probably needed a shot too. I don't know if they gave him a shot or not, but he's doing fine. He's doing fine. He's at home now. But he ate, and then he started having pain again. So he took his meds after he ate. But he thinks he's going to be doing fine, and I'm sure he will be. I mean, he kind of knew what was going on. And I told him, I said, why didn't you go to the doctor when they were open? A whole lot better than a hospital bill, right? But my stepmom, she always says, I think it's hilarious because it's true. She's like, he's not going to listen to anybody. He's hard-headed. And my daddy even said the other day he was hard-headed, and he knows it. And I told him, I was like, one day, that hard-headedness ain't going to be good for you. I guess he's not hard-headed when it counts, But doing this, we're going to make a total of 48 of the hourglass blocks. I will show you guys how I do it. I've already made one. I just double-checked my thought process on this because I was like, I know I've made these like this before. And let me just double-check and make sure I'm not wrong on this. So I test drove it, so to say. Because I believe in finding shorter ways to do things or quicker ways to do things. And I don't know why they have you crisscross. They had us doing that, I think, last night in our live with Tammy and Alicia for the Yuletide sampler so long. I didn't read my instructions. The cutting instructions. They said to cut, your fabric like that. I didn't do that. I did like I'm doing today. What a coincidence, huh? To have it on the live on the Yuletide sampler and now to have it on our sew along the Woodland Quilt. And friends, I had to go see Miss Ava again this morning. Had to go get some more fabric because I was doing that Yuletide sampler last night, and I didn't have enough green fabric. I'm smashing my stash, but I try to stay close to the same color scheme. The only color scheme of the Yuletide sampler that I'm changing is the blue. I don't want blue in a Christmas quilt. And Miss Ava did tell me that this last line that she just got is going to be the last line she gets before Christmas fabrics. So, y'all know how I am. I told her, I said, well, I'll probably start seeing you every Friday. Get some of that. But, friends, I hope everyone is having a beautiful day. We started our day today. Once again, it's Saturday. I started my day at 2:30 this morning with a storm rolling through, and it scared me half to death. Scared my cat. I had fallen asleep, sitting in my recliner. I was watching a show, and of course fell asleep watching the show. That's nothing new. I've come to expect that now. If I want good sleep, just cut the TV on. I'll fall asleep in a second. It don't take me no time if I cut that TV on. But I woke up and I was hearing something. I'm like, what am I hearing? Well, I have a metal roof. A very heavy metal roof. We replaced the roof on my house probably about 10 years ago now. We had some damage to it after a storm, and so we just put a metal roof on it. And when we did that, I didn't know what I told the guy was really going to make a difference. And I just told him I want the thickest, and because he asked me how thick I want it, I said I want the thickest, heaviest metal roof you can put on my house without collapsing my roof in. Well, he put like a really high gauge. I didn't know the difference between whatever, and most people, they're like, whatever they can afford. I'm like, I want the toughest. I don't care if I can afford it or not. I'll find a way. And so we did that. We had the a really heavy gauge put on there. And so far, everyone that's had metal roofs that just put the light stuff on there, their roofs have peeled up, and by the grace, y'all, my roof has withstood. Now, when we had the hurricane winds that came through, it did, like on this end that I'm in at the peak of the roof, it did kind of pull the flashing up just a little bit, but I still have a tile roof under it. They didn't take my tile roof off. They just put the little slat things that they attach. They just screwed those into my roof so they could attach the metal roof to it. And it has withstood. And now, granted, I think we probably need to have some things redone on it. Here I am telling y'all all about house renovations I want to do, and we're not even talking about quilting. I'm working on the woodland, friends. Working on the woodland. We're getting it done. Now, it's probably going to be 5 or 6. This is probably a 5 or 6 session quilt for sure. And the reason of that is, once I get these done, I will trim, and I'll trim one and show you how I'm trimming it, and then I'll do the rest of it offline and press everything offline, because this is going to take a little while possibly. But what I'm doing is I'm giving myself an hour tonight. Whatever I get done in an hour is what I get done. If I don't get it done tonight, it'll be later. Y'all just check the updates on Monday and you'll see everything I've got done. I have done a good bit of behind the scenes stuff. This week, y'all have mostly seen shopping hauls, friends. Who don't like a shopping haul? I haven't done a lot of shopping hauls until recently, but those were mainly I knew about the basic gray line that I wanted to get. Y'all, they've got some beautiful grunges in that basic gray line. Now, why do I have more whites than I do color blocks? I don't know. I'll have to count them once I can count them when I start cutting them apart to flip them to sew on the other side. That's what I'll do. If we're having 48 total, you're making 8 from each half yard. And how many did we have? I don't remember. I think we had 6 half yards, but I can't remember. Let me look to see how many A's we had. A's was 24. So, yeah, that would be right, 48. So I need to make sure to have 24. I might have cut too many of the white blocks, but I will find out soon. So be right back. Okay, it looks like I might have cut too many of my, what is that, A's, whatever the background was, eyes. They were eyes, I believe. Kind of scared me there for a second, though, because I only counted 23, and I'm like, I don't have any more. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, I did one already. So, yeah, you have to remember, if you do a test block, that it counts. It counts as one. But what I'm still doing is I'm just keeping that point of the block to the right of that laser light. I hope to be able to get to where I can do some cutting, but if I say I'm running out of time, I will just stop where I'm at so I can show you a cut. But this is a pretty easy step. You're just sewing on both sides of the center line of that diagonal. You can mark these with your pen, pencil, however you mark your diagonal lines. I'm using the laser light. Friends, this has been a game changer for me. I know someone got one and returned it, so it's not for everyone, but for me, it has made a huge difference for me. Because I was always marking everything. I mean, it didn't matter what size it was, I was marking it. And I'm one of those people that I have to do that. I have to mark because I do not trust my judgment on, us being a center. And plus, you can't always see the lines on your machine. Because my machine has the marks all the way across it, but, sometimes you can't see them. And you will also be cutting this and trimming it down to size. So if you sew too close to that point, that's okay. Just make sure to leave enough where you can press it. Because I tell you, some of these, I'm sewing right next to that center point. But that all that really does is it makes your piece that you're having to trim larger. You're giving it way more than a scant quarter from that center. Or way less, not way more. You're closer to that center line than a quarter of an inch, which is fine by me. I'd rather have more fabric that I have to trim than not have enough fabric and try to figure out where I'm going to make that up at. And we're making pretty quick work of this, because I want to be able to show you how I'm doing this. I'm not cutting those fabrics and then having 4 pieces for one of these, because I will still cut on the diagonal both ways, but it's already going to be sewn. And those pieces will already be ready. So instead of having to sew 4 pieces, I'm only sewing 2 pieces, really. Because I am making 2 seam lines instead of 4. Because we'll count each one of these stitch lines as seam line. And you'll see what we're doing here. We're taking 2 pieces of fabric and putting them together, instead of 8 pieces of fabric and putting them together. But in the end, when I cut, it's going to be technically the 8 pieces of fabric. But I will show you how that works. And I know a lot of you already know how to do this, but for those newbies out there, I was a newbie at one time and I was so ignorant of how to do many things. I'm not going to say stupid, because it wasn't something that had been taught to me. I just didn't know. So that just makes you ignorant. Now, I'm not going to lie. Some days I feel stupid because I know I've done the same thing 20 times over and I can't remember how to do it. That's just forgetful. Maybe that's not. I shouldn't say those words, because I get on to my kids for saying those words, because those are dirty words in our house. It just makes me uninformed. That's what it makes me. Or hard to understand, grasp the idea. But no lie, friends, some days it's not clicking up there. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. If y'all, most women our age know that poem, "When I Grow Old, I'm Gonna Wear Purple." If you don't, go look it up. It's a good poem. That's me. I'm ready to be there. Friends, we are almost done. Look at that. This is a quick way to get those squares that you need to get. All right, so I have finished my 23, because I already have one done. I don't have it completely done. Oh, I've got to put my threads back up. My alpha clippies. Friends, 1 second. Let me find my box. I am using my alpha clippies on everything now. I'm so happy that I did this. Friends, all I did was I took my alpha bitties, put them on these clips, and put them in this little organizer here. I just took one of my clear plastic pieces out and they fell, so I have to take them out. But this helps me keep them organized in this little case. Fabulous. Fabulous. So let me get these trimmed apart and I will show you how I cut the fabrics. Okay, friends, I have them all trimmed apart. So let me show you what I do here. I'm going to show you on this one. You may be able to see the line. You can see right there where I have sewn on both sides of the diagonal point. And the diagonal is from one point to the other point. Now, how I'm going to cut, I'm cutting from this point to this point. So this is the stitch seams. Let me show you what that's going to look like. Now, this is the first cut. We're still stitched here. So what I'm going to do is cut through the center of that stitch line on both sides. And you will see what is happening here. So you see here now I have the 4 triangles. I'm going to press these real quick. I'm pressing everything to the printed fabric, and then I'll show you what we're doing then. Okay, so now I have 2 that are like this and 2 that are like this. You're going to keep the 2 that are the same together, because watch what happens here when we go to put them together. You're going to have your 2 opposite colors or opposite sides there. So what I do is I just put that center mark together. Now I nest that seam in the center as well and pin it. And then I lay out those triangle ends. And I pin on both ends as well, just to make sure those lay together. So friends, if you have a pattern that is showing you cut a square into, which I don't do that very good. I tend to mess that up every time I do it. So that's why I don't really like doing that. And I would prefer to do it this direction, this way, because I always have enough fabric, because I know I'm going to sew, a little less than 1/4 of an inch from that center line, and that's going to give me enough fabric. Plus, this is a quicker way to do it. You don't have all the pieces, and they're all sewn together. So let me show you what this looks like. Okay, friends, this has come out perfect. I will be making 46 more of those. So, friends, I'm going to end it right here. If you are loving this woodland, I know I am, or if you just love sitting and watching me chit chat, or you love sitting and sewing, give me a thumbs up. If you're not yet a subscriber, please click that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss a thing we have going on. Doesn't cost you a thing. And it means the world to me for you to do that. And feel free to leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I do try to respond to each and every comment personally. And as always, until I see you again, I hope you have a very blessed day. Bye, friends.